Did you ever? Were you here when Turner had the NFL? Were you here?
Yeah, I worked Sunday Nitro.
The Nitro, right?
Yeah, I had various roles. I was in the studio. I was in the studio when it started with Ken Stabler.
Oh,
which was
my God. What was that
it
like?
was it was the greatest. It was the greatest, and Snake was just the greatest guy in the world. We'd all show up to watch all the games. We'd probably gather about 10:30 or 11, watch some pregame, watch the games. Snake would come in, about 3 in the afternoon. And he said, I don't know what time I got in last night, EJ, but the newspaper hit me in the head. And so it was, he was the greatest. And so I went from that to being like on the, at the site of the game, kind of, and I did a little bit of sideline. I did a pre and a post game show from the field. We had the NFL.
What was the best game that you had? I mean, do you recall that?
We had the Jeff George game. Remember the Jeff George game in Atlanta? When he and June Jones got into it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had that.
So you were the sideline reporter for that one, maybe?
Yeah.
Where you were did you get in there? See what was?
No. It was like one of those things where you woke up Monday morning and said, "How the heck did I miss that?" And that's probably why my NFL career ended.
No, well, we had a game for Thursday night here. It was a Saturday night game, or was it as we called it, the Saturday night edition of Thursday Night Football, which people kind of have.
It
fun
makes
with.
sense to TV guys.
Exactly, right. But everyone else, they're like, what are you talking about? That was the game. Turned out to be Bill Parcells' last win as a head coach. Beat the Falcons, where I'm on the sideline of that game. I wasn't doing the sideline, but I'm getting set to do the halftime. And a member of Jim Mora's staff comes running up to me, say, do you have video of T.O. spitting at D'Angelo Hall? And we're like, what?
Yeah.
In the same way that you might have been like, what was going on with Jeff George and June Jones?
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? They were hopping mad. D'Angelo Hall was hopping mad. And sure enough, Terrell Owens came by our set post-game as the guest. And as if that wasn't awkward enough, Steve Mariucci, who, as we all know, benched him for going to the Dallas Star, had not spoken to T.O. in years. He was the guest. He was the analyst.
Nice.
And everyone was volunteering to give up their seat for that post-game interview that I was conducting. And T.O. flat out admitted, yeah, I spit at him. And I'm like, oh, gosh, okay.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah. And we'll be right back.
I know, and we'll be right, exactly right.
That's always the good fallback.
That's right.
Always be ready to say that.
Well,
we'll be right back.
I've always told analysts that I'm doing, if you ever have any trouble, the safe words are back to you, Rich.
Yeah.
Those are the safe words. I'll take, if they're getting in trouble, I'm there for you.
No, you're exactly
Do
right.
do you have any of those moments of your career?
We had one with Chuck, amazingly, but he had said something, and I don't want to start a big thing because I remember it, but I know he had a couple of things to say about PETA at one point because the league was thinking about going to all leather, going away from a leather basketball, and Charles came out at halftime, and we're live, and he slowly unwraps a hamburger. And I'm like, Chuck, I can't help but see. He says, I just want those people at PETA to know that animals are good for two things, eating and testing.
Back to you, Ernie.
No, and I was like, Kenny? Kenny, help! So that was like in Charles' first or second year with us. But it happens every now and then, and there you just hope that sometimes it's not going to be guilt by association. I know he said it, but you're all gone.
Right. But you're so great at this too. I mean, and Ernie Johnson here on the Rich Eisen Show and a Honda Insider Report. We'll talk some NBA in a quick second, but this is what you're great at, and that's what's so great about the show that you do up the hall from here. Is that it's natural. It looks like your show meeting is on television. That what you're doing, sure, it's produced, but you are just being yourselves, and you allow these guys to be themselves. And when it does need some sort of corralling, you corral it. And at times, you know when to let everybody go, to let them be themselves. And that is an art, sir. And I want to point that out to you in front of all these people.
Well, you do the same thing with your show, and when you're dealing with the guys that we deal with. Look, Charles changed the landscape of sports TV for all these studio shows. I mean, it was never like this until Charles got here, and so where we didn't have to necessarily talk about the game if the game wasn't any good. We would just go ahead and it's like four guys sitting in a living room. We're watching the game. Nobody's asking for permission to talk. And the thing that I think that sticks out is we do not rehearse it. I mean, these guys don't go to the production meeting. We don't want them there. I have to be there so the producer and I are on the same page.
Right.
But if we want to throw something at Kenny sometime during the night, we don't want him to have been in the meeting, say, okay, yeah, that'll be funny. And then you say this and I'll laugh. And then you say this and he'll laugh and then we'll go to break. And we don't want that to happen. A lot of times it's whoever's talking the loudest gets heard. It's people interrupting each other. And there are times where I got to like, guys, please, we need to get to this. But we all love each other. I mean, we genuinely do. And we know that we're blessed to do what we're doing. I mean, we've had this same group together, the three of us, for 20 years, and then Shaq for the last 7. And that doesn't happen in TV. Because executives are always trying to tinker with the chemistry. Oh, I know who will work this guy with this guy. And there's no predicting it. And so I think when everybody knows their role and everybody's satisfied with their role and nobody's trying to make the show about them, organically things just happen that the next day people are at work talking about it and saying, did you see when Shaq said he didn't know where the Golden State Warriors played, which actually happened on our air? I'm doing highlights of the Warriors game, and I said, we go to Oakland for the highlights, and this is all live. And Shaq just like, Ernie, how come you keep saying Oakland? And I was like, it's where they're playing the game. I know, but why in Oakland? Because that's where the Warriors play. I didn't know that. And this is while the highlights are going on. I just know we stayed in San Francisco. I got on the bus. And you see, there's no production meeting in the world that could come up with, hey, let's do this. That's Shaq being Shaq. And so it's just part of what makes the show so much fun, because if you don't know what's going to happen, join the club. Neither do I. I got no clue what's going to happen from one moment to the next. And because it's not rehearsed, we'll sit there and start the show, and Charles will say, I got to say something. And he'll unload. And then suddenly we're talking for 3 minutes about that, which nobody in the production meeting ever talked about. But it's just the way the show goes. And I think that's why it's kind of resonated with people. It's just like, it's unpredictable. The guys are funny. You never know what they're going to say. And if there's going to be an international incident that happens, and sometimes, we've come maybe that close.
Yeah, you come very close.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.